Congressman Teddy, perhaps you can give us an overview of this second impeachment complaint. Why do you think was it necessary for the Makabayan bloc to file the second impeachment complaint?
Well, it was necessary because we felt that it was our duty to hold the high official like Vice President Duterte accountable for her wrongdoings. We filed this because she betrayed the public trust. And we cited specifically 3 acts by which she betrayed the public trust. And this is an impeachable offense. And so she has to account for that.
Congressman Teddy, based on the first article of impeachment, there was already an impeachment complaint filed. So do you think it was not sufficient to have this first impeachment complaint and then just throw your support behind that first impeachment complaint?
Hindi naman. We felt that we were, because we've been preparing this for the last basically 2 months. And we felt that we had a very strong complaint. And we felt that there should really be a more focused complaint based on the strongest evidence to impeach the Vice President. So unlike the previous complaint, where they cited, I think, 4 or 5 grounds for impeachment, we focused on one, betrayal of public trust, and cited 3 specific acts, which are well documented, which are on the basis of law, really clear violations of her mandate as Vice President. So these are the issues surrounding the 612.5 million confidential funds that she used as Vice President and as Secretary of the Department of Education.
Congressman Teddy, I read through the first impeachment complaint and also the second impeachment complaint, which you filed yesterday. And just a comparison, I could see that there was a big difference. Like the first impeachment complaint had, as you said, 4 grounds of impeachment and 24 articles of impeachment, whereas the Makabayan bloc's second impeachment complaint only had 1 ground, which was betrayal of public trust, and only 3 articles of impeachment. So do you see a weakness in the first complaint? Do you think that one of the grounds there also included among the articles of impeachment acts which were committed when the Vice President was still mayor of Davao City? Do you see those as potential weaknesses in the first impeachment complaint?
Not necessarily, Karen. It all depends on the manner of approach. I think the first complaint used what we could call probably a shotgun approach to the impeachment. Throw everything and just use whatever sticks. Kami naman, we are approaching it in a more surgical manner. This is not the first time that we have been involved in an impeachment proceedings. Panahon pa ni Erap, involved na ako sa impeachment, and we know there are some limitations as to how broad and encompassing your impeachment complaint can be. Especially now, there is that practical problem of time. Congress will be adjourning in having a recess in, I think, 2 weeks. And then there is an election coming up in May 2025. So there is that problem of a very short time for this case, for this impeachment to be deliberated on. And so we felt that mag-focus na lang tayo dun sa pinakamalakas. Because, to impeach an official, all you really need is 1 ground and also one article or 1 act. And if the congressmen and senators find it enough basis already to impeach, then that's it.
Congressman Teddy, was there any coordination between the Makabayan bloc and also the Akbayan party list and their group, the group that filed the first impeachment complaint?
Wala. Although magkakakilala yung iba mga complainants, there were two separate initiatives. I think si Senator Trillanes, we thought that Senator Trillanes would be the one to file the first impeachment complaint. But apparently, it was a bigger group. Pero I don't think nag-usap yung mga legal teams ng dalawa to coordinate this.
Well, but now that
But
you...
Oh,
yes.
my thinking is that the more the better. And if other groups want to file an impeachment complaint, they should, because this is a duty of every citizen to hold their high public officials accountable.
But now that you both have, those two groups have filed impeachment complaints, will there be coordination among those groups so that you can see, like, in terms of the progress and the legal strategy as well, that there could be more coordination and more efficiency?
Yes, of course, that will be a matter of course, but it will all depend on how the Congress will be treating these complaints. The Committee on Justice can one, either consolidate these two complaints, or they can pick and choose and pick just one complaint to bring to the Senate. All a complaint needs is 105 votes, or 1/3 of the Senate, 1/3 of the House, and that will be enough to bring this to the Senate. So it will all depend on the action that the House will be taking on our complaints.
But Congressman Teddy, you mentioned earlier the procedural and the operational considerations in terms of the timing, because Congress will go on break in December 20, and then they resume around January 16, I believe, and then of course,
Very short lang.
the re-electionists will be busy campaigning for re-election. So do you think that having more impeachment complaints and more grounds for impeachment might delay the process in terms of also having to study all the complaints and then deciding to consolidate and retaining, and even deciding to retain which grounds among those that were filed?
Well, definitely, Karen, it's easier to hear a complaint that has only one ground and 3 acts, compared to a complaint that has 5 grounds and 24 acts. And that's one of the considerations that we had, this problem of material time. We want to give the senators and the congressmen the opportunity to really study the case. So we felt a more focused approach would be appropriate at this point.
And President Bongbong Marcos previously stated that he's not in favor of filing an impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. Was this taken into consideration before Makabayan filed this second impeachment complaint?
Let's just say it was noted. But, there is supposed to be a system of checks and balances, and the Senate and the executive are independent, co-equal branches. So it should not matter. But of course, it does matter in the real world. But we're banking on the duty of congressmen. Now that 2 impeachment complaints have been filed, it is their duty now to study these complaints, to look at the evidence, to look at the arguments, and make a proper decision. I think they have to do it within 60 days or so. And we're hoping that when they read the complaint and they see the evidence, there is no other conclusion but to say that the Vice President is impeachable or should be impeached. Ito naman, if you're going to compare this to the regular judicial proceedings, ang gagawin ng House is probable cause. All that needs to be established in the House is probable cause, and it is really the Senate who will do a trial, who will hear the case. So I think kung probable cause lang ang pag-uusapan, the complaint has more than enough, gives the Congress more than enough basis to say that there is probable cause and bring the complaint to the Senate for trial.
And as they say, impeachment trials are a numbers game. Do you think that, in your opinion, you have sufficient numbers in Congress for this to go to Senate and then later on for for you to get a conviction in Senate?
First of all, well, while it is a numbers game, that number has to be based on a more substantial principle, and this is the principle of accountability. And so you can't vote na masyado namang garapal na obvious na she is probably guilty and still vote against it. As far as Congress is concerned, I think most of the congressmen are convinced that she has to be impeached. I mean, they have been hearing this issue of the confidential funds for several months now. So if congressmen will just vote on the basis of the facts and the evidence and on their conscience, I think it's easy to get 105 votes. It is in the Senate that there will be a challenge, but there is a process of hearing. So we are hoping that when the trial goes on, senators will eventually be convinced of our case.